a stream of consciousness cast out into the ether and therefore recorded within our Akashic records for all of eternity. This is Adventure Now, Between the Sheets. We adventure fearlessly into the unknown every single day. That's you, me, all of us. Once gifted our flesh and bone suit, the adventure that is life is preordained. The mission? To find out what on earth this is all about. Out here, there are experiences that can shape you one way or another. Victim or victor, you decide. But the truth is, the real journey, that's inside. A little bit of a shelter from the land at the moment, but I believe there's a nice westerly blowing, so soon we'll get the sails up and give Perkins a rest. Head out into the open sea. Cool, eh?
Awesome.
We're about 2 miles out of Peterhead now, and we're out of the shadow of the land. So we've got 16 or 17 knots of wind blowing, main only. We're just going to enjoy this, I think. We're not going to worry too much about our speed and hope that we take 48 hours or a bit less to get across the North Sea into Norway. It feels good to be back on the sea. Everything just sort of condenses down. It is just Altor, Asha and me. Our world gets very small. The voice inside never cried, even when I turned away, but it glowed with pride, as did I when I came back to stay. So finally I have it, and it was there all along, an ocean of infinite wisdom, my heart's whispered song. It's 3 o'clock in the morning and Ash has just come up from her 4 hours off, so it's time for me to get some sleep if I can. Not actually going to go into the stern cabin, going to stay in the saloon. It's quite nice for the other person to know that you're just down the stairs should you be needed, and I guess it feels a bit strange at the moment because it's been a while since we've been on passage overnight. Good morning.
Good morning, my captain.
How's it going?
It's going good. We have good speed. It was over 6 knots. I had to adjust the course, but we are doing great.
I could hear that it was over 6 knots, but I could also hear that it was raining. So, where is our summer?
On the other side of the North Sea.
On the Norwegian side of the North Sea, I hope you mean. Well, that's pretty good. We're doing well. And I did sleep very well. I reckon I had the best sleep I've ever had so far on passage. I was out for the count.
That's excellent.
Which is lovely. We've learned over the years that if we're going to sail Altor with one sail only, then it should be the main. With the jib, I think it's too far forward, and therefore the centre of effort is too far forward, and it pulls the nose of the boat all over the show, which makes the autopilot work a lot harder. So if it's going to be one sail, it should be the main, and then we can rig it out the preventer, which makes it pretty safe. And then as long as we can keep the swell fairly aft, it's not a bad ride. But if we have to move round a bit because of the wind and the swell is down on the quarter, then it gets a bit uncomfortable. But I guess we're still getting used to it as well. That's the truth of it. Having been very calm in a couple of canals so far this year, we've got to get used to the open sea. Rolling, rolling, rolling. It's a lovely feeling when you go off watch. I especially like it when you get into a bed that has been warmed by the person before you. Well, depending on the person, of course. Welcome back on board. It's been quite the journey for us over the last few months. So please sit back, relax, and allow us to share some of it with you here. It never ceases to amaze me. You seem to cross paths with cargo ships incredibly closely. We've got one that's looming on the horizon, and the AIS is telling us it's going to be 0.5 of a mile away from us, which means our collision alarm will go off, although I have disabled it so we don't wake up Asha. And I think he's starting to show signs of going behind us. I would probably allow him to get a couple of miles away, and if we didn't see a course change from him, I would call the bridge. It's much more pleasant by day and you can see what's going on. In night time, when it's just the lights, it all feels a bit more perturbing. But in this lovely bright sunshine with a blue sea, I'm not too worried. We'll just hopefully watch him slip by our stern. When we were in Largs, I picked up a second-hand book in a charity shop, and it's called Strange Glory, Awakening Man's Latent Powers. Some may say that it's a weirdo's book, some may say it's witchcraft, but it is about higher consciousness, and therefore, for me, if you dare to accept and therefore investigate the fact that we are greater than our flesh and bone suits, these are the sort of books that you need to be reading. And there's a lovely little quote here, a guy called Arthur Koestler, who wrote The Roots of Coincidence in 1972. And he said, "The limitations of our biological equipment may condemn us to the role of peeping toms at the keyhole of eternity, but at least let's take the stuffing out of the keyhole." Oh my goodness, I'm going to enjoy this one. Just went down for my 4-hour sleep and Asha woke me up. I wasn't really asleep, but I was just starting to doze off. Asha woke me up saying that we got a bit of gusty conditions on the way, and we do have a bit of a squall rolling in behind us, which there's a line of grey cloud, and Asha's seen 31 knots, did you say?
Yeah, 31.
Yeah, which is apparent wind, so whatever our boat speed on top of that is the true wind speed. So that's a bit pokey. We've got one reef in the main as it is, and then you kind of get yourself in a funny situation here, because we'd have to come right round into this wind to put a reef in, which would be very unpleasant very quickly. So you find yourself in this situation where you think, right, well, she's doing pretty well now, so I think we'll just let her ride it out. I've let the kicker off so we can open up the leach a bit and spill some wind there. We can still dump a little bit more main out, but I don't think that will make an enormous amount of difference. But she's riding very well, over a 10 knot surf, is that what you saw?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've... But I do think we can see sunshine behind this, so I'm not sure it's going to last for long, and I think it might be better that we just ride it out on this basis. But it's funny, you know, half an hour ago we were having dinner in a very sun-soaked cockpit doing 5 or 6 knots in 15 knots of breeze. So it can change very quickly. But Altor's a big girl, she can handle it, so we'll just relax and go with it for a while, and hopefully in 10-15 minutes this will blow over, and then we'll decide whether or not it looks clear and whether or not we put a reef in just to be safe overnight. Alright?
Okay.
So what exactly is it that we have been doing here? It's fair to say that many people would see this as a sailing channel, but for us, it's always been more than that. For us, it's about life, and that life just happens to be playing out on board a sailing boat.
The squall didn't really catch up with us, but we saw a cloud with rain going over the sun, so we decided to reef. So now we have a reef too in the main. The ship is nicely balanced and we are heading onwards west.
Asha and I are searchers and seekers, aren't we all? But we must be careful with this searching and seeking. Careful that it doesn't infer that you are coming from a position of lack, because that can make you search outside of yourself for happiness, and that is not where you find it.
I was expecting the little wind that piped up from the southeast to pretty quickly move to the southwest, but it hasn't. It stayed southeast and it's increased. We've now got 20 to 25 knots of wind and we are beating towards the coast of Norway. So I'm really lost as far as the forecast is concerned. I'm very pleased that we've got 2 reefs in the main because the boat is nicely balanced. The sun is shining, the water looks absolutely beautiful, and Asha just told me that she can see land, which I don't think we're going to pick up on the camera yet, but that is good news.
And when you think that happiness does indeed exist outside of yourself, you have walked into a minefield full of people who will try to talk you out of yourself. So as we watch the wind freshen and Altor of Down trucking in towards the Norwegian coast on this glorious day, let me tell you a little more about what it is that Asha and I are seeking. We are diving deeply into spirituality because we know there is more to life, more to love, much, much more to existence, and many more wholesome ways to live your life than those offered by the consensus reality. But just as with all aspects of life, there are dangers.
Got a big tanker bearing down on us here. I think he's just altered course and is going to go behind us because we are sheeted in hard and trucking. I'd rather he moves than we move. It's been quite a strange turn in the weather because we had westerly for a few days, so it's kind of set the swell up from west to east, and then suddenly today with this southeasterly it's made it quite choppy, as you can probably see from some of the spray that comes over the deck. But it's starting to flatten off now that we're coming into the lee of the land, which is good because Norway always looks very frightening when you zoom in on navionics because there are thousands and thousands of rocks and islands. And it looks like you're trying to thread a needle, but I think in reality the course we've chosen should give us enough room and we should be able to come in here and then actually bear away off the wind, and hopefully things will calm down a bit and we'll have a nice sail into flat water where we can drop the sails and start Perkins and then decide where we're going to go, because we don't really know whether we're headed for an anchorage or a marina, because again there's so much detail on the chart it's hard to see. So we'll get in and then we'll work it out. Woohoo!
Asha and I will never tire of the elation that we feel when we sail into the calm waters of our destination. Although on this day it was slightly spoiled by the flyby of one of Norway's latest amphibious killing machines. Such a shame that until we can do better together, it looks like we need them.
We decided to pick the buoy up that was sitting in the middle of the anchorage, and on looking around, well, if you were looking for an absolutely stereotypically gorgeous Norwegian anchorage, this is it. Welcome back to Norway, Asha.
Welcome back to Norway.
What an awesome passage, and it's great to be here.
Absolutely wonderful.
What have you got?
Martini.
Whiskey. Both well earned. Cheers.
Cheers. Tastes sweeter than ever. He's excited. He's stripping off already. Wow.
Yeah.
I can tell you that almost all of the footage that we took after leaving the Moray Firth was almost unintentional. That is to say that I had decided that we would put the camera down in order to prepare for our upcoming trip to Bali and our Tantra teacher training course. But old habits die hard, and we see so much beauty around us that I couldn't resist picking the camera up and filming. Sometimes I was annoyed with myself that I couldn't leave it alone, but as it turns out, I am pleased, because at the time we had no idea that we would have this story to tell.
Good morning, Perkins.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
Here we go.
Both Asha and I were brought up with Christianity, although Asha in a far more in-depth way than me, but nevertheless, neither of us have ever felt any real allegiance to a religion. That is to say that we don't feel the need to have a middleman. Instead, we enjoy a direct connection to something greater than us, a higher power, a God, the source, the universe. Call it what you like. I don't care. please do and believe what you want. As long as you're not setting out to cause harm to anyone, I couldn't be more happy for you.
It's obvious straight away the difference between North and South Norway. It's much quieter and much more desolate up north, which is beautiful. But here it's quite strange because you can get tucked into the gorgeous little spot that we've been in for the last few days, and then you poke out round the corner and see this huge ship here and all the industry surrounding and the huge town of Stavanger. So it's quite a bizarre place. You can be in the city, but if you have a boat, within a few minutes you can be in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by trees and mountains in the background. It's lovely.
I've always done my best to speak freely on the videos that we put out, and I'm a firm believer in allowing yourself to be seen in all of your glorious colours. We do our best to live in allowance, without judgment, to attach positive meanings to the lessons of life that come along, and ultimately to live in love and peace in the now. And isn't that what we all want?
Ada Nova. She's a big girl. Not so pretty if you ask me.
Whoops, what was I just saying about judgment? Well, I think I'll allow that one to slide by as an opinion, but it just goes to show that mindfulness is a full-time occupation.
But one thing that anyone who watches us knows is that we love a town. Yes, I'm being facetious. We walked through, had a little look around, felt like we were just getting lost amongst all the other tourists. Nothing wrong with tourists. And then we decided, right, it sounds like the bars are about to get busy, so we're going to get busy by doing one. So this is us doing one. So thank you very much, Stavanger. We've seen you. It's been a lovely, lovely sunny day. We had a few hours on the dock and filled the tanks with water. And now we are off to find another secluded island. And there are several of them out there, so I don't think we shall have any problem doing that. So the smile is back on my face, Asha. And yours too.
It is, because I had a little walk around the town. Got kind of lost, but I had an idea, but I had to find the cruise ship, which wasn't difficult over the low houses. It was right there, Aida. So I found my way home, and I'm happy to be getting out of the town.
Yep, off we go. Beautiful day though, it's lovely. Let's make the most of it on the water, shall we?
It's gorgeous.
So how do we get to this love and peace that we're all after? Some people live a life of repentance and hold the belief unfathomable to me that a newborn child is a sinner. Others wage holy war on those who do not share the same religious beliefs. But these ways are not our ways.
Oh, it's a little bit too much. We face so much trouble in this life, but not enough to declare war on love. You know they should have told us. It's so easy when you start off, but you better prepare to bleed my love. You better.
And so, the path that we choose to love and peace is to practice love and peace now. And that, to us, is the essence of Tantra.
Going out the back door. Very, very tight here. There are a couple of rocks which are 1.5 meters below the surface. So we've just got to thread the needle between the two.
Well, that's it for the Norwegian footage. I know there has been a lot of talking, but that's the backstory for what comes next. But before that, I want to tell you the intention behind this video. It is to let you know what I have come to realise, and that is that we are enough just as we are. So listen to your heart, for it is wise, even when you are in your youth.
Tonight there's no way back. The whole town is all about summer, and we have enough wine to
We decided to leave the Tantra teacher training with Tantra Essence, and I'm absolutely gutted for it.
We had no time to process, and then it was more information the next day, followed by all these exercises again, late nights, early mornings, basically feeling like we were being beasted. Suddenly, it was very apparent that everyone on that team is shit scared of Sarita.
Yeah.
Because someone said, I don't think we're going to do that. Can we do that half an hour later? No, you cannot. Sarita will not allow that. No. It was poor, and it was stressful, and everyone was stressed.
Yeah, and just to throw something into this pile, we were explained how Tantra is so beautiful, and the two pillars of Tantra are love and meditation. There was no love.
No compassion.
And no time for meditation.
No time for meditation. And we do 5 minutes running round like this. Next 5 minutes, let's be pussycats. Let's rub up each other. 49. Not 6. It was like watching one of these faith healers in America. You're healed, one, jumping out of a wheelchair. It was that ridiculous. Again, telling you what you're going to wear, and they had also told you previously that you wouldn't wear underwear.
Yeah.
And men would not wear anything under their sarongs, and sure enough, we had a naked sharing session.
That is actually every sign of an abusive relationship.
We had a fight or flight reflex.
Yeah.
We can go and talk to them, which I knew would not have gone well, because of what I'd seen. We didn't know what was going on, we're sleep deprived, we're absolutely exhausted in fact. Just going back to Groundhog Day, seeing people not being happy, not looking very good, people in tears, people looking forlorn, someone telling me she's distraught. And also I want to say that we had to sign a 2-page disclaimer when we got there, which was never given to us before we paid, was never on the website.
And we didn't receive a copy.
We didn't receive a copy, and we just had to tick the box. No one really had the time to read it, and if you had read it, you wouldn't have any choice, because you couldn't start the course unless you ticked the boxes. No. Not right.
Not right.
Not right.
Yeah, this is actually coercion.
And she's dancing with her tits out. Now, I just looked up like, oh, God.
And then asking me, oh, did you see me dancing with my tits out? Do I care? I have my own pair if I want to have a look. Yeah.
No. You and I have gone there to feel better, more spiritually awakened, more alive, more loving, more meditative. And we've bailed out after 11 days because we feel shit. Thanks, Tantra Essence.
Yeah,
well done.
It was a horrible experience.
This went from being a huge thing that we've been looking forward to into something that we have literally ran away from.
Shame on you, Tantra Essence School.
I agree.
Oh baby, I love your madness. It's so incredibly beautiful. Oh, you shine like gold, so selfless to all, and wild like an animal. Some would say I'm insane in the right and the way, but I just love to play and you're fun and your games. Always hungry for more, that's just how I was born. Take me somewhere I don't know and give me your freedom. Whoa, you love me to pieces, yeah, I need it. Want your pandemonium, life is so easy. Whoa, you love me to pieces, yeah, I need it. Want your pandemonium.
We've been at this adventure now, Malarkey, for 5 years, this being the 5th season and approaching the end of it. We are now on the 26th of September. And every year previous to this one, we have had to accept that at some point we need to leave the good ship Altor to go and see friends and family, either in England or Poland, or both. But this year
was a little bit different. We have bought a house in Scotland, so we accept that we will be leaving the ship in the winter time for a life on land with hot water and central heating, which I have to say we like. But this year was a bit different because we left the ship in August, bound for Bali and a Tantra teacher training course. Now, doesn't that sound fantastic? It certainly did to us, which is why we did leave the ship mid-season. However, I have to say, returning to the ship 6 weeks after we left on the 10th of August was absolutely beautiful. I guess it would have been anyway, but it was even more of a relief to us because unfortunately our Tantra teacher training course was nothing like what we hoped. Asha and my spiritual journey has evolved since we've been sailing together. We were both spiritual before that. Asha was a little bit more woohoo, and I was a little bit more logical, and I think us coming together, I developed a bit more woohoo and Asha developed a bit more logic, and our spiritual journey took us on the Tantra route, which I have to say is fantastic for us. But as the late great Alan said, just so long as you can be talked out of yourself, then you deserve to be. And I heard that a long time ago, but note I say heard. It's taken me a lot longer to learn it, and unfortunately I'm not going to go into the details now, but we think the way that the course was run was potentially greedy by having too many people on the course at once. Harmful because throughout the journey, my goodness, do you troll through some deep emotional traumas, which I didn't believe I had any. But they were there, and they were trawled out, they were pulled out, and whilst I think that is necessary for me and for Asha, for her journey as well, there was no support on the back of it, and we were basically beasted into very, very short sleep every night, 2 or 3 hours, and a very, very full day every day. I'm not going to go into too many of the details, but it was pretty traumatic for us, and we actually left early. We escaped early because I think we were tempted to stay because of the money that we had spent, and I think once we were there we suddenly realised that we weren't having a good time. And something that I have said for the last 7 years now, I've been very lucky to be able to say that where would I be right now if I could be anywhere, anytime, and my answer for the last 7 years has been right here and right now. But after a period of exhaustion in Bali and utter confusion and emotional turmoil, I suddenly found myself saying those words to Asha, and I actually had a little breakdown when I realised that for the first time in 7 years I couldn't say right here and right now. And life is an absolute gift, and I don't believe, if you can help it, you should ever be where you don't want to be. So in our confusion and exhaustion, Asha and I made a break for it. We ran, and we came home. Home being our house, and we acclimatised for a few days before realising that we couldn't truly be at one with ourselves and each other until we returned to the good ship, Altor of Down. So I'm not going to say poor me, and Asha's not going to say poor her. We're very lucky to be in a position where we can spend a significant amount of money to go and learn something spiritual. And we have learned something spiritual, but finally I have learnt that I was still able to be talked out of myself. So Alan Watts, I heard you many times. I have now learnt, and Asha and I will not be talked out of ourselves again. The spiritual world is a funny world, with a lot of overprivileged pricks, this one included. Not many people have the opportunity to spend thousands of pounds to try and delve into their psyche and work out what makes them tick. But we did, and that makes us overprivileged. And I'm just going to avoid a crab pot here. So we didn't learn much that was useful to us. There were several very good lessons, but it was causing us more harm than good. I would dare to say it was almost getting cult-like, and most people there are singles. We were one of only 2 couples out of 40 odd people, and I think when you've got singles, a divide and conquer strategy can work, but with Asha and I together we could check in on each other and realise that things weren't going very, very well at all for us, so we bailed out. So we didn't learn what we wanted to learn, but it was still valid for us, because by being a pretty disturbing course, we learn what we don't want to be in spirituality, and learning where you don't want to be is, you could say, as important as learning where you do want to be. So as I say, I'm not really going to go into details here. We are trying to assimilate our experience, but what I can say is it was just fantastic beyond belief to come back to our floating home and find ourselves in an autumnal Scotland. And now we are heading south, soon to be going into our very favourite Sound of Long, to be flushed through with the tide, to pop out in Galanack Bay at the start of the Crinan Canal, which I think we are going to transit again. And then on the other side we are going to explore what is our home cruising ground, the Firth of Clyde, into places that we haven't been before, for some inland flat water sailing. And I can feel it in my heart. It is so good to be back. It is so good to be living the sailing life. And it is so good to see our direction of spirituality. And we were shown what not to do. And for that I'm grateful. But for now, let's get on with the very spiritual business of being pushed by the invisible force that is the wind to pastures new, to a state of being that is magic for us, and that is sailing. So welcome back on board. Let's finish season 5 in style, eh? Welcome along for the ride.
Thank you so much for listening. I try hard not to compare myself to others. Instead, I choose to believe that we are all from one, but we have differing human experiences along the path of our lives. Our experience in Bali was very much a surprise to us, and for reasons that I may never fully understand, it took 6 weeks for me to be able to sleep through the night and start to feel normal again, whatever normal is. But the reason I wanted to share this with you is because I do believe that when we heal one, we heal all. We can learn from other people's experiences and their mistakes, if there is such a thing. The funny thing to me is that whenever we go through any kind of trauma or upset, when we come out the other side, we become aware that all along, when we felt alone, we were not. There was a voice that was guiding us, and now I understand. This is your higher self. It speaks to you via your heart, not your head. As I said, it is wise, even when you are in your youth.
It's looking pretty calm through there, which is nice. I've seen some pictures of it looking pretty wild. There's no excuse for that really if you pay attention to the books. You should be able to come through nicely. Ash is a little bit nervous, but she's absolutely fine. She's far more capable than she gives herself credit for. That's pretty much us through, isn't it?
Yes, I think so.
You reckon you can bear away a little bit now?
Definitely.
Awesome. The 6th time through Doris Moor?
Yeah.
Success. Well done.
And I think most of the time we motored through, but this time we sailed.
Even
I
better.
sailed. Guess what? Magic.
Certainly is, my dear.
So now, at last, I understand that to follow your heart is not a cliche. It is the route to peace and love.
Here is a wee drum.
And a not quite so wee for me. Cheers to you, Galanack Bay.
Cheers.
Cheers, Altor. Back
Cheers,
on board.
Altor.
God, look at the light shine on us.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Beautiful, isn't it? Cheers.
Okay, cheers.